passionate, driven, enthusiastic, euphoric. This is who we are as entrepreneurs. But how we leverage these incredible attributes to dream and build businesses that scale and grow is what this podcast is all about. Hello, I'm attorneypreneur Josh Brown, and welcome to Franchise Euphoria. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Franchise Euphoria. Josh Brown here, your humble and excited host. Thanks again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Today's episode, or the theme of today's episode, is slow and steady wins the race. So I'll break that down in just a few minutes. But before we dive into today's topic, I did want to let everybody know that I have now officially separated Franchise Euphoria from my law practice website. And so now you can locate the podcast and all the information surrounding the podcast at franchiseeuphoria.com. So that is some exciting news on the Franchise Euphoria front. And I've been looking to do that for some time now, but life gets in the way, as they say. So let me get right to it. Today's topic, again, is slow and steady wins the race. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, whether or not you're looking to purchase a franchise or even turn your business into a franchise, I find that people want to move fast. When you're talking about either buying a business or growing your business, there's an anxiety that attaches to that, and there's a momentum to it. And people typically want to do things very fast and move in an aggressive fashion. And that is okay to a certain extent. As I've talked about ad nauseum on other episodes and over the last couple of years, pretty consistently on this show, that is, obviously you need to do your due diligence. You need to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. But in terms of growth, whether or not you want to look to purchase more than just the one franchise you own, or whether you want to look at growing your franchise system as the franchisor, I find in franchising that the people who grow slow and steady ultimately have the best opportunity to win out in the long run. There have been many a franchise system that started out ablaze and ultimately flamed out. I've seen it on a number of times, quite frankly. I've been involved in a number of cases where that's happened, and it's just not a pretty picture when a franchise system flames out and is in a position where they have grown too fast for themselves. So today I'm quickly going to cover three reasons why slow and steady wins the race in franchising. Number one, you need to master your domain. What do I mean by that? When you are operating a business and when you're looking to grow a business, you really need to make sure that you have complete understanding and control of your local trade area. What I mean by that is, the surrounding 50 to 100 miles of your very first location, you should have a very clear understanding of everything that's going on in that geographic location and everything that impacts your business from a positive and negative perspective. And you really need to have a clear understanding of what your expansion opportunities are right around you before you start looking at expanding across the country or internationally. I think that's a big mistake that people make, is people erroneously think that because they are successful in one particular location, they can just set up their business in any location and they will have the same success. I think anybody who's had experience in dealing with these kinds of situations knows how important your location is, your territory is. Most businesses, especially in the retail sector, are going to generate their revenues from the local area that they're surrounded by. So it's super important to pay attention to those things. And it's equally as important when you're expanding your business to know and to test the waters and to fully understand the locations that you are looking to move to before you actually move there. Too many businesses get ahead of themselves and erroneously think that because they're successful in one location, they will automatically be successful in another. Number two is when you look to expand and you're essentially duplicating or multiplying your business, you are going to run into issues. There's no way around it. It's just part of the growing process. In my estimation, it's much better to identify those issues and work through those issues one business at a time, as opposed to opening up multiple locations or selling multiple franchise systems, and then each and every problem you have is multiplied. So fixing issues is going to be key to ultimately build the foundation for your businesses and your franchise system along the way. Do it in a slow and steady way so that when you add one more unit, you can fix those issues so that on the third, fourth, and fifth units, you don't have the same problems that you previously had. The third is conserving cash flow. Many businesses that start off and get some momentum behind them and do well, take the cash flow and want to reinvest it in their business, which in many instances is a very wise decision. But I also see a number of businesses that take too much cash flow and try to reinvest it and don't leave enough for a rainy day. This can be a significant problem for a business owner if he or she is looking to expand, if they don't have the actual capital to do so the proper way, and for a franchise system that's looking to grow, it is going to take funds to do so. And just like when you buy a franchise, it's going to cost you a lot more than you think it's going to cost to expand. So you really want to make sure that you are conserving cash flow along the way. And when you're growing in a slow and steady and measured way, it's much easier to do that. It's much easier to manage and have a good handle on your cash situation when you're growing one location at a time, as opposed to trying to plant your business all over the country in one full swoop. So hopefully this is a helpful tip for the day. Like I said, I see this a lot with just entrepreneurs in general, and a lot of franchise systems that just really want to conquer the world. The reality is this: if you have a good idea, a good business, and a good system, you will get there. You will get there. But you got to do it in a slow and measured way. If you build off of a faulty foundation, it is going to fail ultimately. It happens all the time, and I want to help you avoid that stressful and bad situation. So if you take one thing from today's episode, just take slow and steady wins the race most of the time. Thank you, and look forward to another episode.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.